Hey, everybody. Yo, I am so sorry. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. I fell asleep on the couch watching football. I woke up in a straight up panic. I'm here. I'm here. My bad. I slept in this morning and then I legit fell asleep again on the couch. I never sleep. All right. We are here. How long? Y'all have been waiting for a long time. What is it? 5:14. Ay 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 ay. All right. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Am I audible? Oh man, man, that was crazy, y'all. I woke up. I woke up in like another universe, to be honest with you. All right. I know. Look who finally showed up. Conveniently walking in the door. Jesus. All right. Let me get queued up here, guys, because I ran up into this room real fast. So, and my brain's a little bit slow, and I'm gonna be real honest. My eyeballs don't appreciate these lights at this very moment. So, oh boy. All right, so we're back. I appreciate all you guys, for real, sitting here having a good time without me. I'm kind of jealous actually, because you guys are all talking about how great of a time you had in the chat, and I just missed all of it because I'm over here snoozing. All right, here we go. Y'all see that? So what I do basically, y'all get a sneak peek, is I like skim. I'm like, that looks like a good screenshot for my video. Let's steal that one. Okay, here we go. We are back. You know what, guys? Don't be mad at me. I gotta get a water. I'll be right back. BRB. Give me just a second. Y'all don't want me to have cotton mouth while I'm sleepy. All right, be right back, guys. Yeah, I literally LOL'd at this. Not even gonna lie to you. I wouldn't do that to you guys. I'm lying. I didn't think I was gonna sleep on the couch either. I was like, no shit. Oh man, I slept in this morning. Missed it. And I fucking did it again. And what did I tell them last night? Oh, I'm programmed to wake up early. Bit me in my ass. All right. We're alive. We're ready to go. Whew. All right, all right, all right. So who all we got in here? We got, I see Tommy. I'm gonna do a quick roll call into house. Y'all already know all this. So Tommy, we got Alex, we got Kaz, we got Courtney, Sharon. Sharon is the real MVP from last night. Let's not forget that, guys. She held it down. She held it down. Got Pixie, we got John, Con, Sweetest Pea. Yes. All right. You will have to read the chat later. All right, here we go. And we're off.
Cool. During the year I spent living back with my mum, I was leaning even more heavily into scouring the internet for answers. It became like an obsession. Most people my age were watching porn. I was on PubMed learning about mitochondria. I educated myself in things like methylation, the building blocks of mitochondria, various immune cells and their functionality, and which supplements could help theoretically bring about homeostasis in my body. I taught myself of the various pathogens that could lead to the symptoms I was experiencing. Around this time, I started ordering medical test kits from private medical facilities. I had a eureka moment when, after posting some poop in a tube to a lab in London, I discovered I had an amoeba and another more benign gastrointestinal parasite called blastohominis. Both could plausibly lead to systemic pain and fatigue. Upon researching the best course of action, I found this doctor in New York.
I actually thought it was kind of funny how you said that.
Educated myself in things like methylation, the building blocks of mitochondria, various immune cells and their functionality, and which supplements could help theoretically bring about homeostasis in my body. I taught myself of the various pathogens that could lead to the symptoms I was experiencing. Around this time, I started ordering medical test kits from private medical facilities. I had a eureka moment when, after posting some poop in a tube to a lab in London, I discovered I had an amoeba.
Posting some poop in a tube. Yo, yes, you ain't lying. Even the posting poop in a tube is just like, that hit me. No, don't thank me, Pixie. Thank y'all, and thank y'all for sitting here waiting for me. Jesus. Yo. It's actually funny you mention that because it takes me back to chemistry class, and that shit was boring as hell. So boring, because we never got to use the cool little tables with the gas supply and stuff like that. But it was a lot. It was a lot. So, yeah. Guilty as charged.
I started ordering medical test kits from private medical facilities. I had a eureka moment when, after posting some poop in a tube to a lab in London, I discovered I had an amoeba and another more benign gastrointestinal parasite called blastohominis. Both could plausibly lead to systemic pain and fatigue. Upon researching the best course of action, I found this doctor in New York who was a world-renowned specialist in treating parasites. Return flights to New York, booked far enough in advance, were a couple of £100 back then. The treatment itself was pretty cheap. I was in no way in a strong financial position, and neither was my family, so I did what I always do when I needed to get money. I wrote and recorded some songs from my laptop from bed. One about getting to New York to find a cure. I sold a modest amount of digital copies to my Facebook friends and my friends and family, just enough to afford a trip. During this time, my symptoms had gotten a lot worse, so the entire visit was a bit of a blur. I remember sitting in a waiting room and struggling to find an inch of wall space that wasn't taken up by the countless medical qualifications and the diplomas attached to it. I half expected the walls to start bragging about their Ivy League connections and debating the latest medical research while us mere mortals waited to be called in. When I was finally on the doctor's table...
Here we go, man. Ren, man. It's too early for this. It's just like 5:30 at night. Gosh. You ain't lying. I can see all your accolades on the wall, but somehow here we are. I'm the one doing all the research and telling you what it could be and couldn't be and initiating home tests, and it's just crazy. It's crazy how much he had to advocate for himself and probably still has to advocate for himself because there's no answers. Yeah. I feel so bad for Ren. Ugh.
Taken up by the countless medical qualifications and the diplomas attached to it. I half expected the walls to start bragging about their Ivy League connections and debating the latest medical research while us mere mortals waited to be called in. When I was finally on the doctor's table, I was told to take off my clothes and put on a blue disposable paper robe. An old man in his 80s hobbled in, pulled on a medical glove, and proceeded to cover his finger in Vaseline. My heart sunk. I was pretty sure I knew what was coming next. I suddenly wished I'd experimented more with my ex-girlfriend. I didn't want to lose my backdoor virginity like this. He could have at least done me the courtesy of putting on some Marvin Gaye and lighting some candles, but instead I lay in uncomfortable silence on a brightly exposed operating table, while a firm-handed, overqualified old man inserted his index finger for...
This the way he's narrating with this music, it's like, it's probably not supposed to be funny, but it's fucking pretty funny. Maybe I'm just a terrible person, but kind of funny. I wish I would have experimented with my ex-girlfriend more. Not sure if any of you guys have joined the army or know military, probably in general, and know what something called MEPS is. So MEPS stands for Military Entry Program or something like that. I don't remember what the acronym stands for anymore, but it's what you go in for your initial screening before you leave out to like basic training. That's when I lost my virginity. So y'all know, since we're over here sharing our stories, I don't get music.
Proceeded to cover his finger in Vaseline. My heart sunk. I was pretty sure I knew what was coming next. I suddenly wished I'd experimented more with my ex-girlfriend. I didn't want to lose my backdoor virginity like this. He could have at least done me the courtesy of putting on some Marvin Gaye and lighting some candles, but instead I lay in uncomfortable silence on a brightly exposed operating table, while a firm-handed, overqualified old man inserted his index finger forcefully into my anus. He never wrote to me afterwards. I felt used. Nonetheless, I was officially diagnosed with the parasitic amoeba.
Yo, I had no choice. It's not like I went in that room and I'm like, yes, sir. Hey, give me the 2-finger treatment while we're at it. No, that was not me. That was not me. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, if I could have maybe not done that. Granted, I could have been used. I was like 18. Went in the army at 18. You never know.
I felt used. Nonetheless, I was officially diagnosed with the parasitic amoeba and given a course of heavy-duty antibiotics to take. I believe it was paramomycin and secnidazole. After the course was finished, I pooped into a tube again, and they confirmed I got rid of the parasites. The constant internal techno raves and gurgling which usually plagued my stomach ceased, but I felt just as crap. And on top of all of that, I started becoming allergic to everything. And I mean fucking everything. The antibiotics had triggered some sort of massive food intolerance reaction. Whenever I'd eat certain foods, I'd get hit with a sudden hangover-like feeling, and my face would swell up. I'd later learned this was something called MCAS, and it was triggered by the antibiotics.
That's crazy.
This was the first time I felt the crushing defeat of pinning a lot of money, hopes, and time into a treatment only for it to make me worse. I'd felt it to a small degree with every failed herbal protocol, every antidepressant that gave me side effects, but this was on a much larger scale. I almost felt guilty and full of shame for not getting better. I told my friends and family that this was going to be the thing that cured me. Not only did it fail, but I was now unable to tolerate basic carbohydrates, fruits, sugar, high histamine food, dairy, grains, without feeling terrible. I felt pretty crushed about that.
That's so crazy.
Despite this, some tenacious part of me had a perseverance that didn't want to stop looking for answers. I was obsessed with trawling the internet. I strongly believe if I didn't have that tenacity...
This is why people lose faith in the doctors, man. Like, my grandmother is one of these people. It's sad, but she is, because she has lost all faith in doctors because she has gone in. And even with my great-grandmother, so my grandmother's mom, goes into the hospital. She doesn't leave. She does not leave the hospital. She dies in the hospital. And then my grandma, she goes into the hospital, and they give her some medicine that, like, basically she almost dies from this antibiotic they gave her. And so she's got, like, zero faith in the doctors, and I can't say I blame her after that, but it's like, it's tough. It's tough. All you want is answers, and they're fucking you up more sometimes. And again, it's not necessarily all doctors. I'm not saying all doctors are shit, because they're not, but it's hard not to lose faith in them when you're put in run situation. That's for damn sure. That's for damn sure.
Capacity to keep looking after every defeat, I'll probably be dead today. After about a year of living with my mum in North Wales, I got the itch, and I decided that I'd make a bold move to Brighton. Most days I didn't really have the energy to do much other than short walks, but I had a friend over there who lived with Emmy.
What is that thing, guys? Is this something you can sit in? This thing here? It almost reminds me of the thing we have in Seattle. What is that called? My brain's not working. It's not awake enough. Is this for like some... I don't know. It's kind of interesting though, whatever this thing is. Wish I could zoom in, but I can't.
Most days I didn't really have the energy to do much other than short walks, but I had a friend over there who lived with Emmy for years. It felt like a safe space, a place of understanding.
That's what I was wondering.
Being a 23-year-old living with his mother didn't feel very cool either. He had a free room years. It felt
like, is it something like that? Like a space needle? So... Hey. This is all like... Oh, sorry. Hi, Alex. From Pixie. I'm just relaying the message. This could be legit. I don't know what this thing is. Considering... So this is in Canada, Con? Okay. Interesting. I figure it's something like, yeah, I think so, Sharon. Like, it would make sense because it's on the beach. Like, I would imagine it's something to see the landscape around you. Okay. Interesting. And no problem, Pixie. I got you. I got you.
The itch, and I decided that I'd make a bold move to Brighton. Most days I didn't really have the energy to do much other than short walks, but I had a friend over there who lived with Emmy for years. It felt like a safe space, a place of understanding.
So that's
being a 23-year-old living with his mother didn't feel very cool either. He had a free room going, and he was a legend. I desperately craved my own independence. After going through the heartbreak of losing love and...
Nope. Mm-mm. Can you guys tell me why our boy is slacking here? Can you tell me? Can you tell me why he's slacking? Very obvious. I'll give you 10 seconds. And then I'll tell you. I'll tell you. Maybe my slash... blah, 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 blah. I'm still waking up. My chat's slow. The greedy pig, man. Why aren't we lit up? This thing is sweet, and I want it. It's dope.
A place of understanding. Being a 23-year-old living with his mother didn't feel very cool either. He had a free room going, and he was a legend. I desperately craved my own independence. He had a free room going, and he was a legend.
If I hadn't made you guys sit here, Tommy, for like, I don't know, almost an hour, Vicky, same. Like, I'm not going to make y'all sit while I go over there and turn into a barista for the night. Nah, I'm all right. We'll survive.
A safe space, a place of understanding. Being a 23-year-old living with his mother didn't feel very cool either. He had a free room going, and he was a legend. I desperately craved my own independence. After going through the heartbreak of losing love and losing the exciting career opportunity, I needed to feel like I wasn't just sitting in the tomb in Wales waiting for death, even if it was a struggle. I made the move. It was a really nurturing space, and it was full of the lunatics of Brighton who would come and go. I was still living in a thick haze, but I was meeting people who weren't judging me for it. With this safety, I was slowly finding my personality again. Despite the comfortable environment, it seemed my symptoms were only getting worse. I started having pretty constant panic attacks. The first one felt like a heart attack. I'd never experienced a panic attack before, so I wasn't...
I'll take you up on that offer. I will. Maybe I'll figure out how to... Time for a pee break. Not yet. Close. Very close. My morning pee. Yo.
The comfortable environment, it seemed my
TMI.
symptoms were only getting worse. I started having pretty constant panic attacks. The first one felt like a heart attack. I'd never experienced a panic attack before, so I wasn't familiar with the symptoms. My whole face went numb, and my heart felt like it was about to beat out of my rib cage.
Bro, that would be so scary. So scary. And Tommy, you ain't lying because... And I don't know if you're talking about Ren or something in the chat, but if you're talking about Ren, I would totally agree with you because I feel like this is like what keeps propelling him forward, these good moments. It's like, I don't know, that's probably what gives that little bit of hope that can keep you, moving forward a little bit and give you that, silver lining to keep fighting for, I guess.
I panicked and I phoned an ambulance. They put me in the back, they took all my vitals, and they told me I wasn't dying. I felt disappointed. These attacks would happen pretty habitually every week or so. My symptoms of derealization seemed ever increasing. Derealization is hard to describe to someone who's never experienced it. The closest thing I can come to is feeling like you're on bad drugs. You feel disconnected from yourself, like your soul has been vacuumed out of your body, and nothing around you quite feels real. Everything has an unusual undertone and nothing feels safe. I remember one night in the first year that I lived with Ben, there was this lightning storm of torrential rain. I went outside and I stood in a t-shirt hoping I'd be hit by a bolt of lightning and it would somehow shock me out of it. Unfortunately, I wasn't on Zeus's hit list that day. This urge to be shocked back into reality didn't really leave me. I remember one day I was walking back from the shops. I found an old analog television in an alleyway that was being thrown out. I can't quite remember the thought process that led me there. I just remember feeling angry.
Like, I'm thinking about, like, what he just said about, like derealization. Like, oh, you know how terrible that would be? It's almost like... I think they have something called like disassociation disorder or something like that. I think that's a real thing. I don't think I'm making that up. It's like, to me it sounds like derealization is like 10 times worse. Like, ugh, that would just be terrible. Terrible. Ugh. Y'all, for real, Vicky, you are so right. He is so good at this. And it's crazy because he's really just... He's just telling his story to us, but he's got a wicked way of doing it. Crazy. And it makes you feel like... seriously feel for him. Oof.
This urge to be shocked back into reality didn't really leave me. I remember one day I was walking back from the shops. I found an old analog television in an alleyway that was being thrown out. I can't quite remember the thought process that led me there. I just remember feeling angry, and I decided to smash the fucking pieces out of the TV in the alley. I picked it above my head and I hurled it towards the ground. The screen cracked, but it didn't shatter like I hoped it would. I did it again and again and again until there were large shards of glass lining the street. I saw one about the size of a kitchen knife and I picked it up.
Oh boy.
It's hard to rationally explain self-harm that's not a cry for help. because this wasn't a cry for help. I'd cried for help multiple times and no one listened. The pain I felt inside my body could never be done justice with words. There's a certain horror, a certain frustration of living in a body that would never give me a moment of peace. I felt constantly alienated. I had no doctors to tell me what was going on. They made me feel like a hypochondriac. There are no combination of words in the English language that can express that pain, that can express that frustration. There's no song I could write that would make you understand. In that moment, the closest and truest way I had of communicating my pain was driving a shard of glass into my chest.
Oh, gosh. He ain't lying either, man. Oof. When you got... Ugh. Imagine being told it's like... I mean, I said this yesterday. It's like, imagine being told it's all in your head. It's like, nope, you're just imagining this. It's all in your head. All you want is answers. And he's right, man. Like, you don't... There's no, like, words that he could tell you, like, that expresses how he felt, because you probably really only truly understand how that feels if you've kind of been in that situation before and understand that feeling of like helplessness and desperation, and it's just wild. Keep in mind, he's young, and he's still young too when all this is going down, so it's not like you have... I mean, Ren's wise beyond his years, faux show. But it's not like you have all this wealth of knowledge and wisdom behind you, you know? You're still pretty young. Ugh. The system is broken sometimes.
The alley. I picked it above my head and I hurled it towards the ground. The screen cracked, but it didn't shatter like I hoped it would. I did it again and again and again until there were large shards of glass lining the street. I saw one about the size of a kitchen knife and I picked it up. It's hard to rationally explain self-harm that's not a cry for help, because this wasn't a cry for help. I'd cried for help multiple times and no one listened. The pain I felt inside my body could never be done justice with words. There's a certain horror, a certain frustration.
You're not too bad, Bad Wolf. I was late too, so you're really only, I'd say, 10, 12 minutes late. I don't know, maybe I've been yapping a lot longer. I guess I have 28 minutes in. Yikes.
Frustration of living in a body that would never give me a moment of peace. I felt constantly alienated. I had no doctors to tell me what was going on. They made me feel like a hypochondriac. There are no combination of words in the English language that can express that pain, that can express that frustration. There's no song I could write that would make you understand. In that moment, the closest and truest way I had of communicating my pain was driving a shard of glass into my chest and dragging it across until the blood was dripping down my body. It didn't hurt very much compared to what was already going on inside of me, and it didn't really help me feel better either, but it was truth, and there was beauty in that. Adrenaline gives you a brief moment of respite, but it wasn't long until I was exactly where
You're already hurting so bad. That carving yourself up with a giant piece of glass does not even hurt. Yikes. It's insane.
But it wasn't long until I was exactly where I started, just decorated in a little bit more blood than usual. I made sure nobody saw. I didn't want to cause any alarm. I didn't want anyone to be worried. So I cleaned it up when I got home, and then I resumed the life of the undead.
Oh. Ariel, I want to go to one of these so bad, actually. I think it would be fun. My understanding of rage rooms is that they're just rooms loaded with shit that you can destroy. You go in there, you select your tool of destruction, baseball bat, something like that, and you just go to town. I think that would be so, like, some people go to, like, what, shooting ranges and stuff, and that's their hobby to, I don't know, burn off steam. That's fine. Some people go to these axe throwing places, which I think is fun as hell too. And then you have the rage room. I would love a rage room, I think, especially a couple days after work. Whew. I'll rage out in that rage room. Just give me a bunch of people's faces I could paint out and put on the computer screens. Print out.
Exactly where I started. Just decorated in a little bit more blood than usual. I made sure nobody saw. I didn't want to cause any alarm. I didn't want anyone to be worried. So I cleaned it up when I got home, and then I resumed the life of the undead. In the next episode, I'll tell you the story of when I was stabbed by an ancient sword, and when I met one of the most talented people that I know. I got tears on my sleeves, hold on, and holes in these jeans, hold on. I haven't slept in weeks, hold on. I haven't found no peace, hold on. I get my teeth tied, hold on, and these tears run dry, hold on. Two bloodshot eyes, hold on, two bloodshot eyes. I don't belong here, in a place where life has left me. I'm 25 going on 150. My body feels old and I'm trying to lift the weight from my soul, but it's moving against me. I've emptied out my teardrops, I lift my middle finger up. I'm screaming fuck you to all the demons here that keep me stuck. The pain is sharp like paper cuts, I hate them much, but yes I trust. I must combust, I must blow up, I must have roll this courage up. Boom, sparks fill the room, I'm feeling the rhythm I move. My soul is more worn than the soles in my shoes. Nike trainer blues, a man with none to lose. I think I lost my sanity, calamity in shoes. Poor choice maker, I rip out the pages of fate, then I roll them up like bizzle of paper. Taker, lung full of destiny, a man with no part is a very strange entity. Tears on my sleeves, hold on, and holes in these jeans, hold on. I haven't slept in weeks, hold on. I haven't found no peace, hold on. I get my teeth tied, hold on, and these tears run dry, hold on. Two bloodshot eyes, hold on, two bloodshot eyes. Do you ever question your fate? The questions I make, is this all predetermined, the script or a play? Am I the protagonist in this tragedy, or will I be the author of stories unmade? If so, I'll dip in my quill to my ink pot, keep on writing, never stop until my beating heart it flops. I'll write a whole different story. Scene one, a boy full of hope, a boy full of glory. Who stutters, I'm under the top, would rather be tougher and live it smoothly like butter, but not so bitter and cut up. And so I sit up and shut up, it's like a lid up and struck up the courage never to fuck up. And now I'm feeling the ruckus, feeling the static, and now I'm feeling the flames, and now I'm feeling the strength inside the ring with my pain. My boxing gloves and my hope that I trust to bust an uppercut, cut my demons up. Boom like a tsunami, smooth like a punani, bend the words like origami, Salvador, I be the Dali. Only love like Bob Marley, golden ticket, call me Charlie, riding Harley's Bengali, tiger star, call me Arnie. I'll be back, and I cut the slack, track your backs, relax, shit in the beast, and then seek it in the peace, and I'll reach the canopies, and yes we climbing, building a brave new world inside a whole new designing. With all this fire we burn like the sun, a new dawn is rising, a new dawn it comes. Yeah, diggity diggity down with all this corporation. They burn up the land for the greed that they run. Run deep with their roots, but their roots can be lifted. I'll be a renegade, yes I make a fist kid. Try to seek truth in the kingdom of lies. A boy so lost with two bloodshot eyes. Tears on my sleeves, hold on, and holes in these jeans, hold on. I haven't slept in weeks, hold on. I haven't found no peace, hold on. I get my teeth tied, hold on, and these tears run dry, hold on. Two bloodshot eyes, hold on, two bloodshot eyes. Ha, ha, ha. Hold on. Hold on. Ha, ha, ha. Hold on. Hold on. Two bloodshot eyes. Hold on. Hold on. Two bloodshot eyes.
That's so good. He has the catchiest music, man. And it's so good. Talking about his soul is more worn out than the soles on his shoes. Yikes. Woo. cray cray. He's so good. So stinking good. That's all right, Tommy. You gotta go put something in the oven. That's okay, cause I am gonna take your what is it called? I guess we'll just call it a lifeline. I'm gonna take your lifeline. I'm gonna go make a cup of coffee real quick. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. I could leave you guys with some music. I got Amazon Music going. I could shuffle it up. Y'all let me know what you want me to do. Otherwise, I will just leave you guys amongst yourselves to do your thing. Do your thing. Here's what I'll do. I will throw up the chats so that they all show up, and we will intermission. Let's say 10 minutes max. 6 o'clock max. All right. BRB soon.
kids don't play my shit, I never had a top 10. Maybe it's cause I sing about violence and depression. They say don't blame these kids, just focus on yourself, friend. Well, if they don't like what I'm doing now, then fuck them. Don't trip, I up the ante, learning licks like John Frusciante, smoking spliffs and popping candy, idolizing Sid and Nancy. Woo! Rock and roll in my soul, bumping, knocking cold on the dole, fish and chips and games consoles, council house and violent flow. But life went sweet at home. Mum and dad took a trip and they split shalom. What will be, but me, I hate to see my mum alone. Late night crying, get so high to try to silence sounds of fighting. Through the walls I heard love dying, so I focused on my... That's what it was. I focused on my... Now let's go back. Let's go back. These kids don't play my shit, I never had a gold plaque. My style is old school, but I swear this ain't a throwback. I put my visions into rhythms on a dope track. To understand the place I'm coming from, let's go back. When I was 16, I was a sick teen, I was a victim of my head. I was just 16, up in the kitchen, racking up lines till my nose bled. 16, in an affliction, in an addiction with my dread. I was just 16, I was quite sick then, I was a prick then, I was a pleb, but... fuck it, we're all misguided individuals, life can suck it. My cup ain't half full, man, I'm filling up the whole bucket. I'll drink my tears so I can drown my sorrow. Sing like I might die tomorrow. Live note for note, I go for broke on every single song I wrote. And every single song I write brings freedom to my weary mind. A healing that you'll only find inside an intricate design of kicks and snares and flat bass lines. I flip the script until I find my... It is what it is. I focus on my... Now run the track. Run the track. Get it? Get it? Power. Get it?
Ooh, Lordy, trouble so hard. Ooh, Lord, trouble so hard.
I don't reach into the past very much for these shards of shattered glass and harsh paper cuts. Leave me stop when I reach in, memories are seeped in. Hydrochloric acid, I go to war and get passive and freeze up. Music help the ice to thaw. Put the chisel in the middle, swing the hammer of Thor. Pull it out of the impossible, Excalibur sword. Etching notepads full of reasons why my feelings are sore. The first day that I got sick, ejected from the cockpit of living. 19, young teen, waking up bitter. Posters up, manhunt, ran, went missing. Hard to have faith when the gods don't listen. The first hit maybe was the hardest. Waking in the body that was buried like a carcass. Brain in the lion's den, body in the shark pit. Waking up in pain again, aching, broken hearted. Persistent little blogger, I was bouncing from a doctor to a doctor to a doctor. Like a table tennis game that has no end. So be the fate of Ren. Every single question answered with a question on the end. The second year I came to terms with giving up my dreams. Mine was severed from the means to help me write these rhyme schemes. Brain was inflamed, the fatigue was crushing. Hard to remain sane with your brain combusting. And the third year was murder, living in a purgatory full of worry, wouldn't live to be 30. Lifestyle hurt me, always in my bedroom. Rearranged the alphabet and all the letters spelled doom. Light hurt my eyes, popping pills to survive. When you're 23 and mentally you steadily decline. 24 I was poor, disability benefits. What's the benefit of disability? It's irrelevant. 25 and the scars that were etched so far and then snap deep in psychosis. Hallucinations, troubled vision, visits from the underworld were conjuring my superstition. 25, living back at home with my mum, but not because I'm a bum, alone and physically done. So thin, so frail, so weak I'd become, and my skin so pale, never kissed by the sun. One time I carved a hole in my chest just to feel. I wish that was a metaphor, the struggle was real. When you're living in the Holocaust, you buckle and kneel. There's relief in the teeth of the kiss of cold steel. Facts, 26, I'm highly medicated and the pain sophisticated while I'm lying broken naked on my back. I brought my microphone until my coffin started dropping raw thoughts with the grim reaper knocking on the track. But then man, lo and behold, I heard an angel beckon on this treacherous road. Was a stem cell doctor with a generous glow. In the cell transplant brought me out of the cold. And my skin got younger and my body got stronger. And my stomach felt hunger for a door that was closed. And my soul heard music for the first time. Beauty was a word I'd use for this gift of gold. Oh Lord, I forgive you. Lord, I forgive you. Lord, I forgive you. Make me whole. This music I give you. Pain that I live through. Everything I've been through is yours to hold.
Alrighty, alrighty. I am back. I am back. I am back. I already feel better. I took one sip of this stuff. It was like a jolt. Sorry, Courtney. I can give you time if you need. You guys have given me time. I will give you time. If you need a coffee refill, do your thing. Do your thing. All right, let me get situated again. Did the music work for you guys? I don't even know if that worked. I just threw it up there real quick. Hopefully. Put that in there. There we go. We can come with you. Coming everywhere with you. Here we go. I'm not familiar with this, so I saw his other channel, Ren Makes Stuff. I might have to check that out because I'm not familiar with some of the stuff that he does on there. There's apparently something going on with potatoes. Yeah. I'm extra confused. I see that Tommy is now Fred. So I don't know what this renaming is. I am behind the power curve here. Oh boy. That was loud. Oh, see, now we got Greedy Pig lit up because it's nighttime. We're solid. Yes, yes, yes. See? And it's just habit. It's already a habit. I've just got the habit of saying Pixie already. It's a terrible habit, maybe, but yeah. Yeah. All right, here we go, guys. We are going to jump into Chapter. What is this? Chapter 5 already. Okay. Man, we're moving along. And we're off.
I tried to cling on to music in whatever ways I could during the time I was sick. During my time in Brighton, whenever my energy would allow it, I'd get...
I've got it. So we've got a bunch of people renamed. So we have... Fair enough, John. I missed it. So we've got Fred as Tommy. We've got Sharon as Bob. Kaz wants to be Doris. You guys got to work that out in the chat, though. Name assignments.
The time I was sick.
Hi,
During my time
name
in
is-
Brighton, whenever my energy would allow it, I'd get myself out into the streets and I'd go busking, about once every 3 weeks or so. It was my second year in Brighton, and I remember one evening heading home with my guitar and my busking amp after a couple of hours of playing on the street. I remember hearing this amazing ethereal voice while heading through the lane.
They did you dirty. They did you dirty a little bit, Pixie. I think Pixie is much more admirable than Dusty. Dusty reminds me of... I feel like there's a plane. It was the movie Planes, right? So they made a movie called Planes instead of Cars, and it was about these firefighting airplanes, and I'm pretty sure Dusty was the crop duster. Just saying. And then we got Kaz is unofficially Doris. Courtney's Ian. Oh no, we got Firestarter's Ian. We've got a conflict. We have a conflict. Sharon, please do. Yes, drop those in the comments. I'm all about it because I haven't been on his Ren Makes Stuff channel much. I'd be down to jump into some of that stuff because it sounds funny. Jameson. All right, so I stay Jameson. Okay. It's already a weird name, so. All right. I'm going to have to get used to this. But what is John? Has John gotten a new name? Have we renamed John? Seems only fair. We can make him Dorothy. Tall structure in Brighton. I-360 is a vertical. Okay, I appreciate that, Truth Fairy. So it's a vertical cable car. That's crazy. So you can. That'd be scary as shit. I don't know if I like that. But I guess you could go up there to see the scenery. So is John Tracy? Or is he Dorothy? It's got to end with a Y now. There's no choice. It's like when you're trying to name pets and you're like, all right, Zoe. What else do we got? Actually, cats. I was going to use cats, and then I was thinking of all my cats' names, and none of them have like the E sound at the end except for Zoe. I have 4 cats. Don't ask. Don't ask. Oh, so Firestarter's real name is Ian. It's not today. Not today. You gotta ask John what your assigned name is. Apparently.
Lanes, and I saw that it was coming from... I remember hearing this amazing ethereal voice while heading through the lanes, and I saw that it was coming from this 16-year-old kid. I've always had a deep admiration and feeling of camaraderie for buskers. There's something about the willingness to be able to bare your soul to a street full of strangers that really moves me. I noticed that the kid didn't have an amp. He was singing totally a cappella, but you'd only hear him if you were within a few meters of him. I knew from years on the street and singing a cappella than myself that an amp can change everything. I had this compulsion to offer him mine. I approached him and I told him that if he plugged in and sang while I played guitar, the whole street would stop in its tracks. And I was right. His voice soared across the street and people started stopping. Not long after, we had the whole street's attention. Something quite magic was happening. This was the first day that I met Sam Tompkins, someone who would be integral to my whole life changing later on. He had a friend with him, this guy called Connor Honeysett, who would later go on to be my manager. For now, they'd just be a couple of teenagers that I'd have to help out on my way home. It's funny how life works like that. I kept up to date with what Sam was doing on social media.
It just goes to show we're back. We're back to Ren just being a pure-hearted dude. Being like, man, that guy would sound so much better if he was singing over an amp and people could hear him. And then just offers, let me do my shredding, my beautiful shredding, my brenning, and you will sing, and it will be magic. And magic was born. And that's how magic is made, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
There was a part of me that felt like his successes allowed me to live vicariously through someone else who lived an alternate reality where I never got sick. He was getting videos on SBTV, writing and featuring with some amazing artists, and there were quite a lot of similarities in our writing styles, and all at such a young age. I wasn't really able to do any of that stuff at the time. I was mostly bedbound with the exception of the odd day that I'd be able to go busking. It could have been very easy for that feeling to turn into jealousy, but it never did. I felt truly proud of him. Years later, we go on to write a song together called Blind Eyed, which would transform the trajectory of my whole career. During this time, I was still desperately jumping from one treatment to another treatment. And now that my diet had become more limited, I was trying new diets with no luck. As the options in the alternative health world started to dwindle, I started searching for answers in the divine. In the former years, I had moments where I found myself sitting in churches, talking in tears to whoever might be listening, or experimenting with energetic healing modalities like Reiki. With time, my searching started taking even more unusual turns. I started looking to things like exorcists. Once you exhaust all rational explanations and treatments, the irrational suddenly starts looking more palatable. I had a skeptic's mind, but I had nothing to lose because there were no other good options.
Bro, talk about being desperate. You just start doing shit. You just start doing anything. Even the most wildest shit. You're just doing anything that could maybe help. Because nothing else is working. The logical shit isn't working. Man.
My friend Momoko's mother was from Japan. She aligned herself with a sect of Buddhism called the Nichiren Daishonin. They would chant a repeated phrase over and over again while holding prayer beads. The chant would go, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, over and over again. Its intention was to align you with your innate Buddhahood, to cleanse you of any bad karma and put you in alignment with your true destiny on earth, to find peace, to find tranquility. Momoko's mum gifted me with my own set of beads, and I began to chant every morning. Eventually I joined a group in Brighton after a serendipitous meeting with an incredibly eccentric, bright colourful suit-wearing piano tuner. He spotted my beads and he grinned at me and he pulled out his own. We'd sit in a small group and we'd chant for hours sometimes. There was something comforting about trusting the course of my life and illness to an incomprehensible power outside of myself. I spoke openly in these meetings that I loved feeling part of something, but that I really struggled saying with certainty that I believed in it. This was the issue I faced with every religion I temporarily aligned myself with looking for answers. Something in me couldn't bring myself to take ancient texts as gospel, all too aware of how man twists so-called spiritual doctrines to suit his own power-hungry pursuits. I wanted divine proof. I sometimes screamed at the sky or the waves and begged for it. I was answered with sickness. If there was a creator, I was angry with it. The irony was that I envied people of faith. I felt like people who truly trusted themselves to a higher power seemed to possess a level of calm and acceptance that I didn't. One of my stranger encounters was going to see a shaman. The shaman, of course, was a middle-aged white woman in a quite nice-looking cottage in Brighton. She told me to lie down, and she proceeded to lean over my body and made noises like coughing up phlegm, while speaking an unknown ancient language that seemed to include whistling noises. After about 20 minutes of making distressed groaning noises over my back, she paused in contemplation for a while and proceeded to tell me that I'd been killed by a sword in my past life. She made sucking noises near the supposed stab site on my chest, and then she spat into a bucket. She then placed a little stone into my hand, and she told me that I had to bury it on a high hill in Brighton on the next full moon. The most depressing part of this story is during the next full moon, I did indeed find a big hill, dug a small hole, and I buried the stone in it. Surprising to say, fuck all happened. It was this journey into the spiritual unknown that led me to a very unsettling experience. I located a therapist online who had claimed to overcome ME herself. She specialised in it and dealt with people's past trauma, but also worked with energies like Reiki. I had to get the train to where she lived. She met me in the car and drove me in silence back to hers. There was a bit of an unusual energy about her. I've always been really good at reading people. I can't quite explain it, but sometimes when I meet someone, it's like I have a sixth sense for whether or not they'll play a significant role in my life. This person's energy felt alien to me. When we arrived at her, she told me that she sometimes would consult with her horses about people's health conditions. It was at this moment I knew that she was probably insane. Nonetheless, I shared a lot about my life. We got into the trauma of living with sickness.
That's crazy. You will literally do anything, talk to anyone. Yikes. Because the people who are getting paid to help you can't, are not.
Was like to constantly mourn your own life. It was comforting at first, and it felt like a safe space, until it got a bit weird. One day she offered me a glass of water before a Reiki session, and during the session I fell into a deep sleep. When I came around, multiple hours had passed, which was peculiar for me. I usually have issues with sleeping and couldn't drift off, particularly not in unfamiliar environments. She assured me it was total normal and to get plenty of water, and I thought nothing of it. Lines started getting somewhat blurry when she'd invite me for meals with her and her husband. I took it as friendliness, but I noticed that she started messaging me outside of clinic hours. One time I agreed to create music for her in exchange for some extra sessions. Not long after, I started getting strange messages in my Facebook inbox. She started telling me how she knew that all my previous songs had been about her, which they hadn't. When I dismissed this, she would sometimes message me saying that she was outside of my house, telling me that our souls were bonded and that bad things would happen to me if we weren't together. To put it lightly, I was already in a pretty weird emotional place because of years of sickness. So having someone in a position of trust abuse their position like this shook me, and it shook my trust in therapy even more. It shook my trust in people in general. I told her to never contact me again.
As if he's already not lost enough faith in, the medical industry itself. Now you're getting... now a position of not a... I guess it is a position of power. Someone you trust in a position of power, your therapist is now... Yikes, man, this dude... It's one thing after another, and... It's just crazy. The more I hear, the more it's I don't know, the more impressed I am, I guess, because he's just... His perseverance is crazy, because I've said it multiple times, it'd be easy to just lay down, but... And then the amount of frustration you must feel, I'd be so freaking heated. I'm already heated. This shit that I'm going through now, and this is 10 times worse.
So having someone in the position telling me that our souls were bonded and that bad things would happen to me if we weren't together. To put it lightly, I was already in a pretty weird emotional place because of years of sickness.
Is that true? That's crazy. If that's true, Sheila, that's pretty crazy. But that... You know what's even crazier is something I've noticed is and I don't know if there's any correlation to this, but I won't throw anyone under the bus in a recording, but let's just say that I have people who live very close to me. And one is, let's say they're both emergency responders, and they have a 4-year-old who's outside walking around 4:30 in the morning, no supervision, walking into people's houses straight up, walking into people's houses, going into strangers' garages. It's just crazy. Like, and the reason I'm bringing that up is because it's like, it seems like it's almost like people with unsuspecting occupations, are like occupations where you think like this wouldn't be an issue, like police officers. Domestic violence is highest. It is some of the highest amongst police officers. It's crazy to think about some of this stuff. Crazy, crazy, crazy.
Outside of my house, telling me that our souls were bonded and that bad things would happen to me if we weren't together. To put it lightly, I was already in a pretty weird emotional place because of years of sickness. So having someone in a position of trust abuse their position like this shook me, and it shook my trust in therapy even more. It shook my trust in people in general. I told her to never contact me again, and I blocked her, but she would still occasionally get through on other numbers. One time she'd phoned my mum's house relentlessly. My mum, knowing the details, told her to stop harassing me and threatened to get the police involved after things which went silent. This was also the year that I met my second ever girlfriend, who I'd later be engaged to for a short amount of time. My little sister had already set the relationship up in her mind. She met this girl in Bristol who she got on with super well, and somehow she wingmanned me and planted the seed in her brain that she'd be perfect for her older brother, me. My sister's friend had moved to Brighton, but I was blissfully unaware of this matchmaking. At this point, I was living in a house share in Rose Hill Terrace in Brighton with some lunatics I'd met at Ben's house, and my
Is this a reference to BB? Maybe. I think y'all says she like he doesn't ever name her by name in this, if I remember.
My little sister had already set the relationship up in her mind. She met this girl in Bristol who she got on with super well, and somehow she wingmanned me and planted the seed in her brain that she'd be perfect for her older brother, me. My sister's friend had moved to Brighton, but I was blissfully unaware of this matchmaking. At this point, I was living in a house share in Rose Hill Terrace in Brighton with some lunatics I'd met at Ben's house, and Momoko had moved down from Cornwall. The house was only meant for 2 people, but Momoko and I had pretended we were married and pretended that we were going to have a baby to be able to get it. As soon as the deed was signed, we moved in with about 5 other friends, one living in the living room, one in the attic, one in the study, one in the conservatory. It's safe to say rent was pretty fucking cheap. One night my friend Luke was throwing a party and she rocked up with a few of her friends. My sister had pretty good taste in girls and I had a crush on her instantly. At some point in the night we both ended up lying on my bedroom floor on a bunch of sofa cushions while about 6 other people were sleeping in various places in my room. One somehow in the upper compartment of my wardrobe. True story. She asked me to tell her a bedtime story and I made up the most unhinged story I could think of. By some sort of miracle she found my madness endearing and we ended up kissing a lot and staring into each other's eyes till we fell asleep. It's strange navigating a relationship when you're sick. I couldn't go out to eat at restaurants because I was allergic to everything. I didn't have the energy to do most normal things that couples do. Some days I'd be so full of brain fog that my personality disappeared, and it was hard to explain that to someone without them thinking that maybe you were just being a bit off with them. I think losing Joe, losing Callum, losing the record deal, losing my last girlfriend, it had all made me wary of getting attached to good things. Quite a lot of my illness made me feel ugly. And it's
This is that self-esteem, man. And you start, this is what we were talking about yesterday with the guilt. And it's hard not to feel guilty, like you're weighing somebody down or your mood swings or being out of it because you feel like shit. Now you're giving them the wrong impression, like you are off with them when really it's not at all them. And having issues with attachment, like attachment issues are real and rightfully so with the amount of shit that Ren's gone through. Oh my goodness. Losing his best friend, losing another friend, and then just the illness. And so I mean this man has faced so much loss and it's just crazy.
It all made me wary of getting attached to good things. Quite a lot of my illness made me feel ugly. And it's hard to accept love when you feel ugly. Nonetheless, she did love me, and with time our relationship grew.
Yeah, that's the thing, Pixie. You should not feel like a burden at all. Not at all. I know it's easy to feel that way, but you should not feel like a burden whatsoever. At all. because this is not something you can help. And if that other person or someone else is treating you like a burden, then I don't think that that's right either, personally. So, yeah. It's a support system, and that's why we all need it.
It was around this time I was contacted by a woman called Jennifer Breer, an incredibly inspiring woman whose journey seemed to parallel mine. She was an incredibly ambitious PhD student at Harvard who one day was struck down by a mystery illness that confined her to a wheelchair. She spent most of her life tirelessly searching for a way out. She was doing a Kickstarter to raise money to make a film called Canary in a Coal Mine. It would later go on to be renamed Unrest, and it would go on to win multiple awards, and it's still watchable on Netflix to this day. It's an incredibly important and very moving documentary about the horrors of living with ME. I recommend everyone checks that out. At the time, I started health blogging. I created a series of video diaries that I named Me versus ME. It would be a video document of my various trials with different alternative treatment approaches, and generally a look into the life of someone with a chronic illness. I didn't know it back.
So at this point, does he know that he's got ME? Or is this still just like the assumption that doctors are giving him that he's got the fatigue syndrome? Or is he pretty confident that he's got it based on the research he's done?
Then, but those videos would save my life. I guess I was occupying a place that was needed, as quite quickly many people in the chronic health communities gravitated towards my videos. Every day, I'd be sent messages telling the stories of the people who'd fallen in between the cracks in the floorboards. There was heartbreaking stories.
Yeah, because it sounds like this has happened multiple times with Red, where he's been misdiagnosed with something.
Stories of the people who'd fallen in between the cracks in the floorboards. There was heartbreaking stories. Stories of frustration and confusion. People mourning the people that used to be. Some who were new to this world. Some who had been there for decades. I tried to help them in whatever way I could. I tried to comfort people. In my own little way, I became somewhat of a...
So at this point, he doesn't realize that he's got Lyme disease. So this is the undiagnosed Lyme disease part. I got you. Makes sense. Oof. That's another element of it, like being steered down the wrong... being steered in the wrong direction. Ay.
Some who were new to this world, some who had been there for decades. I tried to help them in whatever way I could. I tried to comfort people. In my own little way, I became somewhat of a spokesperson for the voiceless. I felt their pain like it was my own. This new pursuit gave me a sense of purpose that I desperately needed. Without purpose, I felt useless. I made a lot of friends, and I'd write to them on a daily basis. Some of those friends died. Some of those friends decided to take their lives, and they were wicked people. I talked to them a lot. It was this that ultimately made me decide to stop, but that wouldn't be until years later. Immersing myself in the horrors of this illness and trying to carry some of the weight for the others while I still wasn't strong enough to carry my own eventually took its toll. Jen Breer had found my videos and she asked me to make a song for her documentary. I was honoured. I wrote a song called Patience. I'll leave you with a video taken at the time to finish off this chapter.
And I've learnt some lessons that will be so valuable for like... So it's a blessing and a curse being this ill, because it's completely changed me. Like it's turned me from a little cocky teenager into somebody who's quite this, I guess, prepared for things now. Like I feel like once I've gone through this, I'll throw anything at me and it'll be okay. But at the same time, as much as I see it as a blessing, I hate it. I do hate it. I think it was Thomas Edison that was like, I haven't failed, I've just found 1,000 things that don't work. which is kind of nice to look at it that way, like I'm just eliminating things. But it
Yeah.
really challenges my
That is a super positive way to look at it. Is I haven't failed. I just found 1,000 different things that it isn't. I'm eliminating things. This is what's fascinating about Red. He's young too. I mean, look at him in this video. Like, he's a young dude. Wise beyond his years, I'm telling you.
failed. I've just found 1,000 things that don't work, which is
Man.
kind of nice to look at it that way, like I'm just eliminating things. But it really challenges my mind, and yeah, it's just gotten to the point where I'm spending, let's say, like 95% of my life in a bedroom, which kind of sucks, because my mind is in such a different place in my body. My mind craves life.
Hell yeah.
It's
Ooh.
alright, it's okay. I'm feeling brave, gonna face this day. It's okay, it's alright. No tears will kiss my cheeks tonight, and it's all good, and I'm just fine. My words ring out like hollow shells. Just slow down, it takes time, but time moves slow, I know this well. And my heart breaks 1,000 times a day. But for every hope that dies, another one takes its place.
There you go.
Because I have the strength of a mountain, and I've got the courage of the deep blue sea, and I have the heart of a lion, and the stars burn bright inside of me. And although you test me, my God, I stand so proudly. Can't you see that I have the strength of a mountain, and I'll take all you throw at me.
Man.
This world is quite scary, I know that, 'cause I've been here for some time. But all that prepares me for a day when I can truly shine. 'Cause I've been so broken, and picking up fragments of myself, I'll glue them back together, so I can stand at the edge of this world and yell that my heart breaks 1,000 times a day. For every hope that dies.
This is such a good song about. Like, this is such a good song to listen to when you are just feeling in the shitter. This is such a good song to listen to. Oh my goodness. This will give you a little bit of hope and strength, hopefully, because this. And hearing it come from Ren and knowing the place that he's singing this from.
This world is quite scary, I know that, 'cause I've been here for some time. But all that prepares me for a day when I can truly shine. 'Cause I've been so broken, and picking up fragments of myself, I'll glue them back together, so I can stand at the edge of this world and yell that my heart breaks 1,000 times a day. For every hope that dies, another one takes its place. Because I have the strength of a mountain, and I've got the courage of the deep blue sea, and I have the heart of a lion, and the stars burn bright inside of me. And although you test me, my God, I stand so proudly. Can't you see that I have the strength of a mountain, and I'll take all you throw at me.
Man.
I'll dust the cobwebs off this sheath, and I'll take the sword of my belief, and in this storm I will not flinch, and I will not move, no, not an inch.
'cause I have the strength of a mountain. I've got the courage of the deep blue sea, and I'll have the heart of a lion, and the stars they burn bright inside of me. But although you test me, my God, I stand so proudly, can't you see? I have the strength of a mountain, and I'll take all you throw at me.
He's so good. He is so incredible. A man does have the heart of a lion and the strength of a mountain. Oh, man. This is like when I was saying, just stare in the eyes of defeat and do not even blink at that MFer. Man. Golly. Just knowing the place he was at when he wrote that. Whew. Because you know what probably triggered that is like being at like rock bottom and wanting to tap out and being just having that feeling of not today and creating that magic about I'm not letting it win. Not today. Not today. All right. Chapter 6. Here we go. Whew. All right, so 6 is kind of rough. Okie dokie. Ready for it.
I'm going to try and hold it together throughout this one. 2015 was the worst year of my life. At the end of 2014, I attended a private UK-based ME specialist clinic called Breakspear. For some reason, the treatments had sent my health nosediving, and I became more sick than I'd ever been. I became so weak that I couldn't walk to the bathroom without needing to lie on the floor to recover. I couldn't focus on anything. I couldn't read. I couldn't watch TV. All I could do there was lie there in pain. It was obvious during this time that I needed to move back home with my mum again. She moved to Cardiff with a new husband, and they had a spare room.
So this is where we're talking about in troubles that he moved back to his mom's, but not because he's a bum, but because he can't hardly move.
Which became my tomb for the next 8 months. At this point, I was so weak that the most that I could manage to do a day was to take...
We appreciate you. Y'all heard my southern accent come out. We appreciate you. We thank you, or I thank you at least, for taking the time to show up here and hang out with us. You are awesome. And again, you should never ever feel like a burden to anybody. Don't let anybody tell you that either. Nope.
Take a shower. The rest of the time I was confined to my bed. I started reacting even more severely to foods, so every single meal had to be blended into soups or broths to avoid negative reactions. Pain constantly shot through my shin bones and through my feet, like splinters.
Yeah, we can do that, John. Since I think you guys told me that chapter 6 doesn't have a song at the end, right? We can do that. Y'all gotta let me know which of these two you want to do, Losing It or Bittersweet Symphony. I'm down for either, but yeah, we can definitely plan to close it out with that, since there's no song.
My stomach would gurgle, and the muscles in my body would constantly twitch, spasm, and ache. My body felt drained of every single ounce of life, and I was so tired, but I was too wired to sleep. I was so full of mental fog that reading a single page on a book seemed impossible. The daylight coming in from behind the curtain hurt my eyes. Loud sounds felt overwhelming. All I could do was wait and pray for sleep, knowing that when I woke from it, nothing would change.
So it's
I wouldn't
chapter
feel
8.
in any way rested, and all the
So it's chapter 8 that doesn't have a song. Okay, got you. We can still do Losing It. Losing It seems to be the winner chicken dinner here. So we could still go with that.
symptoms would persist. This went on and on and on. It was day after day of physical and mental torture. I thought of concentration camps, of prisoners of war being tortured. At least the escape of death seemed likely. During that time I never got breaks. My whole body burned, my brain was on fire, and I had nowhere to hide. In the merciful moments where I could concentrate, I tenaciously trawled the internet, looking for ways out. My research drew me to a procedure called a fecal transplant that was having success managing things like Crohn's disease or colitis. It had also gained success in some select cases of autoimmune conditions like MS too. At the time, I felt like much of my issues were caused by dysbiosis, which means an imbalance in your gut flora. I noticed that all the food intolerances started after a large course of antibiotics for the parasite. I wondered if the parasite had wreaked havoc on my microbiome before I nuked it with antibiotics that worsened it further. Fecal transplants can introduce a whole host of probiotic bacteria into your gut, and it can re-establish a healthy homeostasis. In normal person speak, I wanted to pay to put another person's poop in my butthole.
Hey,
I carried on
that's no other way to say it. I mean, there is no dignifying way to say that. I mean, my wife's got colitis. We've actually read about it. There's like no way. There's no dignifying way to say that. And then heavy-ass antibiotics will absolutely wreck. Can. And they will, but they can absolutely wreck everything. It kills off everything. That's why probiotics
videos
are
from my
important.
bed blogging my experience. I was pretty convinced that during this time I wouldn't be alive much longer. And part of me wanted there to be some kind of document of what I'd been through in hopes that it might help someone later down the line.
And if this illness does kill me, then I want this video. I want somebody who can take notice of this video and do something with it.
I had a fundraiser open to save money for the fecal transplant, which was very slowly creeping up. I needed to save $6,000 in total. I remember my girlfriend wanting to come and visit, but telling her that I didn't want her to. There are a few reasons for this. One, I was pretty sure I was going to die soon. The day before Joe died, I'd been sat with him at a pub, catching up, playing pool, cracking jokes. I'd often wondered if I'd have been hit less hard by his death if I'd been away at university when it happened. For my girlfriend's sake, I wanted her to have distance from me. I also felt ugly. I felt unlovable. I was unable to communicate. And I didn't want her to see me like that. I watched my mum look thinner and more frail every day that she had to watch her son deteriorate. And I felt immense guilt. My mum would often walk in and find me either crying on the bathroom or kitchen floor, having no energy to get back into bed. She'd often sit with me and massage my feet, which always hurt, and she'd hum melodies to me like she would do when I was a little boy. During this whole time I hadn't picked up my guitar. I barely had...
You know how scary that would be as a parent? Man, I do not envy, like, this situation at all. Like, from a parent standpoint, from Ren's standpoint, I just... it's hard to fathom, man. I would be so heartbroken to see my kids like that. I'm like... I don't even like thinking about it.
massage my feet, which always hurt, and she'd hum melodies to me like she would do when I was a little boy.
Ooh.
During this whole time I hadn't picked up my guitar. I barely had any sunlight touch my skin, and I lost a lot of weight. I was about 130 pounds at my lowest. about 8 or 9 stone, which for someone who is 6'1" is very skinny. My average weight is usually about 168 pounds, 12 stone. Every day the same thing. I'd wake up in pain, eat a meal of blended vegetables and chicken, lie with my eyes closed for hours while the world seemed to spin erratically, and I'd often cry as the bones in my legs felt like they wanted to grow out and burst out of my skin. Despite this, what I didn't know is things were about to get a lot worse.
I can't even imagine.
Come June, I've been in bed for about 6 months straight. I've regained some energy to leave the house every now and then to go shopping for groceries with my mum, and I've finally reached my target for the fecal transplant, and my mum drove me to the clinic to get the procedure.
Vicky, I am so sorry to hear that. Oh my goodness. I just can't even imagine it. I'm so sorry you have to go through that and see that. It's like, it's hard for me to imagine seeing your own child like that, and yikes. So I'm so sorry you're having to deal with that and your daughter is going through that. Oh, I wish there was some way, like, gosh, some way we could relieve people's pain, because it is such a defeating feeling, man. Gosh, such a defeating feeling. Such a hopeless feeling. Ugh.
To leave the house every now and then to go shopping for groceries with my mum, and I've finally reached my target for the fecal transplant, and my mum drove me to the clinic to get the procedure. Everything seemed to go as smoothly as it could for such a bizarre experience. I received a colonic irrigation, which was like a car wash for your colon. Actually feels pretty good. They then proceeded to put someone else's excrement in my behind. They would repeat this process for 5 consecutive days. When I got home, I realised I felt a little odd, almost manic, and I was hopeful that this meant my energy was coming back. But it wasn't a nice feeling. As the days progressed, I started to feel an innate sense that something was very wrong. It seemed my immune system was going into some sort of overdrive. My brain was buzzing, and the more time that passed, the more uncomfortable I felt. I remember early one...
So is all this shit hitting the fan with him because no one knows he's got Lyme disease yet? So is this like everything is almost like counteracting or interacting with the Lyme disease? Is it like butting heads at this point? Yikes. One thing after another. Holy cow.
...in the past, the more uncomfortable I felt. I remember early one morning, I was lying on the kitchen floor after attempting to get a glass of water.
So
my body hurt so much that I was digging my nails into the laminate flooring, screaming, and my mum ran in and asked me what was wrong. I remember repeating, "I don't want to go, I don't want to go, I don't want to go," over and over again. I felt myself falling down a deep tunnel in my mind, almost as though my entire soul was tumbling down into an abyss. When I finally crashed to the bottom, I was hit with this immense feeling of stillness and peace. I stopped crying, I sat up, and my mother looked at me, puzzled. I have not felt to this day that sort of serenity that I felt in that moment. I looked around the room and everything seemed to have gained a clarity and quality, but what was most peculiar was the feeling of stillness. There seemed to be some sort of respite from the mental torture and fog in my brain. I still to this day have no explanation for what happened. I looked at my mum, I smiled at her calmly, and I told her that everything was okay now. Her partner Michael came in, and I remember them both looking at me, perplexed. I started speaking fluidly for the first time in months, but it wasn't quite me. I was cracking jokes, being witty. My mum would laugh nervously. I remember feeling as though I was coming up off an ecstasy pill. I felt this underlying feeling of euphoria. I caught myself occasionally erratically snapping my fingers or making whistling noises in between.
Touche, John. Dude, touche. Maybe a little too soon. Too soon. Oh, gosh. Ugh. This is gonna...
I felt this underlying feeling of euphoria. I caught myself occasionally erratically snapping my fingers or making whistling noises in between sentences, or staring at some empty part of the room as though there was somebody there, then snapping back to the space and talking to my mum. This feeling of intense euphoria lasted about 48 hours. During this time, I'd adopted some newer strange behaviours. Everything in my room that wasn't parallel bothered me, so I had to make sure it was aligned and facing the same direction. The whistle and the finger click became a new tick, and it started rising in frequency the more time that elapsed. I also noticed that I get stuck on words or sentences when talking to my mum. For example, if I was saying a sentence like, "I'm not sure how I'm feeling today," I would sometimes get stuck on the whole sentence or just a word from it and repeat it about 30 or 40 times before I could move on to the next. So I'm not sure how I'm feeling today.
Some of this just sounds like it's having some type of like neurological effect on our boy. Faux show.
How I'm feeling today. I would sometimes get stuck on the whole sentence or just a word from it and repeat it about 30 or 40 times before I could move on to the next. So I'm not sure how I'm feeling today. Feeling today, over and over.
It's like he's on
I can't really explain
overdrive.
why, but it's like saying it carved out a safe space for me. After about 2 days, that feeling of peace and euphoria.
I was gonna say that, Kaz and Sharon. I just didn't want to throw that around loosely because it's serious, but it's like that's where my mind was going. Like it's like he's like entering this full-blown psychosis. Like his mind is on hyperdrive right now, and it's on the fritz. Holy shit!
Safe space for me.
My goodness.
After about 2 days, that feeling of peace and euphoria was swapped out for a feeling of immense dread and doom. I felt fear fill my body, unlike any fear that I've ever felt. I'd often wake up in the early hours of the morning screaming at the top of my lungs, a torture scream that would fill the whole house, a scream like my legs were being sawn off. I felt pure terror. My mum would run in and try and calm me down. Sometimes I'd be thrashing, hitting the mattress, pounding the walls. It usually ended up in me exhausting myself and her stroking my head in her lap as I sobbed and repeated the same words over and over again.
Keep in mind, this is like uncontrollable. Like this is not something like, it's not like he's throwing a shit fit. No, this is like, ugh.
It usually ended up in me exhausting myself and her stroking my head in her lap as I sobbed and repeated the same words over and over again. Everything in these moments terrified me. The compulsion to make everything parallel became a necessity. Whenever I was in the kitchen or car and the dials were facing the wrong way, it taunted me. My mum started taking me to a weekly talk therapist in hopes it would stop me from killing myself. I did catch myself researching the most painless ways to do it. I often daydreamed about death, and it made me feel at peace. At this point, intense paranoid delusions started creeping in. I wondered if what was happening to me was demonic. I don't remember how I got there, but I remember one time speaking on the landline to someone who claimed to be an expert in dark magic. He told me that being around my mum was bad for me. He told me that she was bad. He told me that I needed to do a ritual with black wax candles in order to free myself. I remember ordering black candles from eBay, and when they arrived I had a change of heart, and I decided against doing this dark magic ritual. I fell asleep that night, and I woke up the next day to find the candles totally melted onto the white mantelpiece that they were on. They'd never been lit. I still don't really know for certain if anything of these things happened, but the melted wax was definitely real. I remember picking it off with my nails. There were moments that my rational mind knew that I was hallucinating. Sometimes in the night I would hear perfect string quartet symphonies with no sound source for them to be coming from. I remember one time my mum took me with her to the post office because during this time I'd rarely been left in the house alone. I remember the lady behind the till reaching for some sellotape. As she tugged on the tape, it sounded as though it had been amplified 1,000 times. It was deafeningly loud. I ran out of the store crying and shaking, and I sat in the passenger seat of my mum's car, rocking back and forth, where she found me uncontrollably sobbing, repeating the words, I can't, over and over again.
Jesus. You know what's crazy is there's people on the outside who are probably like, this kid's fucking crazy. And that's why it's so important, ladies and gentlemen, that we do not judge anybody, because we don't fucking know.
I ran out of the store crying and shaking, and I sat in the passenger seat of my mum's car, rocking back and forth, where she found me uncontrollably sobbing, repeating the words, I can't, I can't, I can't, I can't, I can't, over and over again. My paranoia grew. I boomeranged between thinking I may have been latched onto by some demonic entity, and I became suspicious of even my own family, to thinking I might be part of some sort of twisted experiment, where a group of observers were seeing how far they could push me before I snapped and shattered. My irrational mind concluded that if I start behaving in unexpected ways, I might confuse the people conducting this experiment, and they'd shut it down. I'd sit in my own bed, manically grinning in response to the jolt of pain in my legs. I'd say things to Mum and Michael which made no sense at all. This all seemed to be leading up to a very unusual day. I can't quite recall the details of how it happened because it was quite tricky to tell what was reality and what was not. But from what I remember, I was in a car with my mum, parked outside a supermarket, and I'd put my laptop on the roof of the car while I'd helped her with groceries. I'd forgotten it was there and she drove off. It wasn't until about an hour later I noticed and I started panicking. My laptop had on it hundreds of songs from my time in Brighton. It was all I had really to show for my life. I was already in such an emotionally fragile space that losing that felt like some sick, torturous joke. We drove back and searched every place it could be with no luck. As we were driving home, my mum pulled up at a junction and something in me snapped. I got out of the car and I ran away from it. I convinced myself this was still part of the experiment, because what else could explain that sort of luck? Once I got far enough away, I proceeded to strip off all my clothes, and I lay in the middle of a road staring up at the sky, laughing in hysterics. This was the opposite of how one should react to losing their computer, and so it seemed like the perfect way to confuse my observers. With time, the police showed up, as did my mother. By some miracle, she convinced them not to take me in or section me, and by a further miracle, they also relayed to my mum that a dented laptop had been handed in an hour earlier. I took this as meaning my experiment had worked. I eventually snuck off as my mum was talking to them. I wandered slowly around this unfamiliar village until I encountered the second angel I would meet in my life, this time in the form of a black homeless man. I'm not sure how we got there, but as I was walking, I turned to my side, and a man dressed in tattered grey clothes was walking beside me. He asked me what was wrong, and I explained the best I could the events of the day. I explained that I'd been sick a very long time, that I was tired, so tired, and that I just wanted to be better. The homeless man paused. He put his hand on my shoulders, and he stared into my eyes. His eyes had a light grey tint. They were almost white, and something about his presence made me feel incredibly safe, incredibly still. He smiled, a kind smile, and he said to me, "Everything's going to be okay, Ren." And then he vanished. I hadn't told him my name. I never hallucinated anything after that day. I have no real explanation for that day. I chalk it down to a psychotic episode or stress-induced hallucination, but the events which follow put a lot of questions in my mind. What he said to me was very simple, but also very needed. I realise a lot of people might hear these stories and just presume I'm a bit mad, a bit weird, like I do when people tell me their ghost stories. All I can do is tell you my experience and let you derive your own conclusions from it. Anyway, I got home and I started to obsessively research ways to escape this new seemingly psychotic space I was in. It's a strange thing to describe, but it was like me, Ren, was in the passenger seat of my mind while some other entity was steering the ship. I was watching myself do things like scream at night or repeat words over and over, and I think to myself, damn, that's pretty crazy. But I wouldn't be able to do anything about it. Every now and then I had moments of lucidity where I was more in control. I was doing things like stimming, I had night terrors, vocal tics, I'd stutter and I'd stammer, and for me a lot of that lined up with some sort of transitory or stress-induced autism. I'd known a family with an autistic teenager and some of the behaviour seemed to line up, which led me to a new pathway of online research. I came across this support group for a subset of children with autism called PANDAS, P-A-N-D-A-S. It was believed that these kids had the neurological infection of the Streptococcus bacteria that was causing these autistic-like behaviours. I was presenting with some similar behaviours. These kids would do long courses of antibiotics and their symptoms would diminish or disappear, and they'd be seemingly normal children again. I speculated that the fecal transplant introduced a whole host of new bacteria into my gut, but that I didn't have the immune regulation to be able to control it, and it had sent my entire system into some sort of inflammation overdrive. I researched the most effective antibiotic for streptococcus, one being penicillin, and I convinced my mum to take me to the doctor, where I faked a stomach bug. I lied to him, and I said I'd had similar things in the past, and that penicillin cleared it right up. He reluctantly prescribed me a 2-week course of antibiotics because I was so persistent. I got home and I started the course. Initially I felt fucking awful, somehow even more tired than usual, and then towards the end of the course I noticed a definite shift in my energy and comfort. By the end of the course, my psychotic behaviours had disappeared and my energy felt a lot better. I stayed indefinitely on various herbal antibiotic supplements like oregano oil at this time, having learned that this was also active against certain pathogenic bacteria. Keep in mind also, I'm just going off script right now, keep in mind if I'd have followed the advice of most of the doctors that I'd seen at the time who were talking to me about my psychotic behaviours, I would have probably been put into a mental facility and medicated with medication that I didn't need, and would have probably gotten...
He would have turned into a fucking zombie. That's what would have happened. And all this magic would have been lost. All of it. I'm glad this man is persistent and didn't just listen to the fucking... Kind of irritates me, actually.
Keep in mind also, I'm just going off script right now. Keep in mind if I'd have followed the advice of most of the doctors that I'd seen at the time who were talking to me about my psychotic behaviours, I would have probably been put into a mental facility and medicated with medication that I didn't need, and would have probably gotten a lot worse. So it was very lucky that I took no one tells you that antibiotics can treat psychosis, and these antibiotics did actually treat my psychosis. And I was no stranger to the placebo effect. I'd taken everything, it wasn't placebo. It didn't matter. After about a week, I'd finished the course, and some of my more familiar symptoms like fatigue and pain started creeping back again. But that didn't matter, because what this whole experience had taught me was that the origin of my sickness was in fact bacterial, and it was pathogenic. The biggest thing it taught me was I could actually do something about it. I was no stranger to the placebo effect after years of trialing different drugs and supplements. This wasn't placebo. I took to the internet again and found a world-renowned specialist over in Brussels who was also leading a lot of the cutting-edge research for ME. I got on the phone and made an appointment. He was booked up for the next 9 months, but that gave me enough time to save money. The antibiotics and new herbs I was taking had also given me a new lease of life, and the hope for a cure made me more determined than ever. I started having enough energy to go on walks, which was huge for me at the time. My dad would drive over to my mum's and we'd go out in the car, and I'd take photos of wildlife on beaches.
You know how huge fresh air is when you are bedridden? And in his own words, have spent 95% of your life in a bedroom? Oh my God, the vitamin D from the sun, the fresh air. I mean, it's so needed. I 100% believe him when he says he needed this in his life at this point. Oh man, I'm still kind of angry. I'm sweating actually, because that shit really pissed me off about these doctors, man. Oof.
He's also leading a lot of the cutting-edge research for ME. I got on the phone and made an appointment. He was booked up for the next 9 months, but that gave me enough time to save money. The antibiotics and new herbs I was taking had also given me a new lease of life, and the hope for a cure made me more determined than ever. I started having enough energy to go on walks, which was huge for me at the time. My dad would drive over to my mum's and we'd go out in the car, and
It really is, Tommy. It really, really is. Fresh air is healing. Just feeling the sun on your skin, it 100% is healing. 100%.
Take photos of wildlife on beaches. I was picking up my guitar again after months in bed. I eventually invited my girlfriend over
and music
made
is
the decision
healing.
to move back to Brighton as soon as I was strong enough to.
Music is healing, 100%.
It was around this time that I started working on that album Freckled Angels. I knew that the future tests weren't going to be cheap. I pulled together some old tracks from the days I was working with Sony, and I got hold of Eric and asked his permission to release them, which he graciously granted, so thank you, Eric. I then pulled together some newer material and compiled my first ever album from my bedroom. In those days, I had no real way of promoting myself and no energy to do shows, so it was mostly to be listened to by my friends and family. I named the album Freckled Angels after Joe. Joe was covered head to toe in freckles, and it seemed fitting to dedicate this work to one of the coolest and funniest people I ever knew. Any ounce of energy I did have from my limited reserves, I'd pour into recording that album. It's by no means a work of art, and it's a bit thematically disjointed, but some songs like Crutch or Pocket Full of Pain went a long way to photographing that time. I'ma leave you with a recording of Pocket Full of Pain. Back in those days. Enjoy. Cool.
Da 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 da. Yeah, 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 yeah.
This is crazy. From my bedroom.
I watch the sun when it rises, when it's climbing the sky. I sit here with the pocket full of pain. I've got tears in my juice, in my mind. There's a noose, but my hope makes me cling to the day. I wanna run with the sun and the moon and the stars till I'm running faster than my pain. I wish I could breathe out this fear, this doubt, send it into the Milky Way. I got my finger on the trigger of a Magnum 44, but survival instinct won't let me bleed. I wanna put a bullet straight in my cerebral tissues place, but my index finger won't let me squeeze. I wanna skate down my vein with the blade till the blood runs thicker than the thoughts in my head. But don't ask me why, this is not my goodbye, it's a suicide failure attempt. Dum, 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 dum.
Thank God, man.
I choose life, I choose life, I choose living. Put the bottles and the pills down, I stand up, I
Hell
breathe
yeah.
with precision. Calm washes over me like a break in the storm.
Yes,
I close
sir.
my eyes for a minute, then my troubles transform, and I travel deep into the corners of my mind. I remember the first time I felt hopeless. I think I was 5, cause at the hands of this bully, the lessons that I learned is that this world is not so beautiful. Sometimes it can be burnt by the fires of evil that are living inside the common people just like you and like I. We'll all strive to survive, and we all climb to the top over our brothers and sisters, whether we mean to or not. And we get lost in the tide of insecurities and power-seeking fooleries, but happiness don't live inside no jewelleries. In an age of distraction, we would rather tap on our iPhones than stop a war from happening. It's heartbreaking, Satan's patiently waiting for us to mess up big time, so hell on earth will be blatant. So forgive me for wanting to blow my brains out, but I've got a change of heart. It's time for change now, rearrange now,
Yes.
fist in the sky. I say proud, say loud,
Yes,
revolution
sir.
word on my brain now. Peace with the people, yeah, powers with the people. If the people strive for unity, the world it could be equal. You could be the start of the beginning, a dawn of no stress, no troubles, no sinning, just living. So overthrow evil and greed, put aside your distractions, welcome change with me, welcome change with me, welcome change with me, welcome change, welcome change, welcome change with me, welcome change with me, now welcome change with me, now welcome change, welcome change, welcome change with me. Yeah, 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 yeah. And da 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 do.
Bro. It's so cool to me. He's just in his bedroom making freaking masterpieces. Oh. That actually made me happy. That song. It did. Man. He is wise beyond his years, guys. Wise beyond his years. Aye. He's crazy. You guys know what time it is, right? I don't know if you guys knew what time it is. Whew. You ain't lying. And the crazy thing, Bad Wolf, is he is a kid. Straight up. At this stage of his life, really. And he is just... he is just incredible. He really is. Woo! Crazy. Yikes. Alright, here we go. We are about to lose it. Y'all ready for this? I'm ready for this. We're going to close it out. We're going to close it out with Losing It. And then we got 7 and 8, and I promise I won't sleep through it this time. Twice. Oh my god. That was insane. Oh man. Whew. Trying to process that, digest it all. Yay. Yes, so 7 Sins, Tommy. I am planning to do this. I was waiting, though, based on what y'all's comments have said, that I needed to wait until I saw these to react to 7 Sins. So that's definitely coming up. Faux show. All right, let's jump into Losing It, guys. Let's do it. This is the right one? Yo, I already like this. I just want to make sure I got the right one. Yo, we know there's like 8 versions of every song. All right, cool. We got the right one.
Fee 55044. Are you dizzy? Are you dumb? Fee 55044. Who's that kid that come from Brighton?
I'm in my room producing hits, and when I mix it, pour some juice in it. It's so prolific, it's that bougie shit. And when the beat drops like this, yes, my brother. Baddest kid in the game, sick motherfucker. Sounds hardcore, so raw, no rubber. Milk that udder. Ooh, Judy, Kaiser Chief, Ruby, I'm Scooby-Doo, goes to groupie. Spooky, poltergeist, raps the bookie, Fuji.
We got another one of these.
Killing when I get in the zone, I'm in my feeling when I'm scheming to be taking the throne. And I'm a demon Morgan Freeman when I'm flipping the flow. I got that Shawshank, shake it, rag in the bone, man. Damn, Jean-Claude Van Damme, put on the red light, please, Roxanne. She said I'm a dick when I get out of hand. You look quite fit with my dick in
Here we go again with the girl, bro.
I run London, I'm the king of the bongo bong. And I'm flipping the shit like a swan-tom bomb. Are you dizzy? Are you dumb? Wait, just wait a sec. Wait, let me catch my breath. I'm about to go beast mode. I'm about to go Macbeth. Back in the rapping, I got the rhythm. I'm back on the map. I'm rapping.
I recognize some of this.
I'm so prolific. I'm flipping the track the quickest in Britain. I got precision.
Was some of this in Love Music Part 4? Like when he was running on the treadmill, he's like...
Are you dumb? Wait, just wait a sec. Wait, let me catch my breath. I'm about to go beast mode. I'm about to go Macbeth. Back in the rapping, I got the rhythm. I'm back on the map. I'm rapping, no cap. I'm ripping and dripping. In fact, you're tripping, you're slipping. I'm so prolific. I'm flipping the track the quickest in Britain. I got precision when spitting the fight. Come with the rhythm and giving the flow. Coast to be the most explosive. You know, psychosis I get when I start to spit. And when the beat drops like this, I'm losing it. That's right.
This is another playlist,
in the moonlight.
Here we go.
I'm a blood-sucking parasite. I'm a digital vampire, terabyte. On a new hype, I'ma orbit the earth like a satellite. Sex and violence glamorized, Tarantino flow. No
This is
lullaby.
crazy.
Tom Cruise down the street
There
in
we
the
go.
sky. With my sword, I'm the very last samurai. It's a mission impossible, make it out alive. Do you hear it? Do you feel it? Do you feel my vibe?
Headshot, baby.
I'm fucking it up like I made it. Sometimes stuck in the rock, but I break it. Come twice, busting a nut, you can't fake it. Fuck my luck, it's about to double up non-stop. I'm great, I'm about to stop the clock. Unlock, I break and chop the rhythm up. I make the music just to hype them up. Yes, my brother love each other, I'm an agent undercover. Who's that Mr. Lover Lover? I'm a beefy, 5-5, both on shit. When the beat, wait. Come like venom. Spotlight, 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 get 'em.
Of course we're changing it up.
Empty chamber, dead 'em. Kick that shit like David Beckham. Bristol, Brighton, London, Beckham. Kill this shit, man, what you reckon? Back on my bullshit, did you see what I did there? New kid, on the block, flip the drop of the music. I twist it, beat it, abuse it. Ren, back once again, pop one, pop two, drop three men. Click, click, pop one again, pop myself in the head for revenge. I'm sick with the flow, I'm lit with the roll, the shit tic-tac-toe. Oh no, you know I'm locomoto, my locomotive is making me blow and come up. Take a Rizla and then I burn up. I'm the Godzilla of the come up. I'm a gorilla in the jungle. I'm losing it. Switch the flow, I can't get it.
There we go.
Cool, I'm very
Good, it's big in the hood. It's big like a bear in the woods.
It's good, and I've understood that I am the one to make the world look, and I am the one to make the world shook, and I am the one for history books. Kill it when I'm running the game, I'm in the four-door Ford when I'm back in my lane, and I'm a Mordor Lord, the Nazgul will reign in the floor.
Mordor, baby!
The rhythm, the rebel, the bass and the treble, the angel, the devil, you're not on my level. I'm very unsettled, I'm very disheveled, I'm less in the mantle, just check my credentials. Wait, just wait.
Here we go.
Wait, let me catch my breath. I'm about to go beast mode. I'm about to go
Yo, it's so good.
Wait. I kill a track with full ambition, wiping out the opposition, stocking up on ammunition, competition, demolition, definition, musicians, Stevie Wonder, superstition, repetition. Giddy with the disposition.
I love it when he does that.
Ignition, I condition tracks with my rapping vision. Reposition, step the fuck back, cause I'm on a mission.
Backer. Woo. Yo, I'm sweating my ass off right now. That was a heater. Yo, for real. Y'all see this? I am like sweating. Yo. That was nuts. Lost my thingy. Oh my God. Bro, that legit had me sweating. Woo! Yikes. Ooh. Alright. We're back. That was crazy. That was a heater. That is going on the playlist 100%. Holy shit. That's so good. Ren is a freaking genius. He's a genius. Oh my God. Yo, I appreciate that, guys. That was a heater. Man, I feel like I've made a decent. No, I haven't. I feel like I've made a decent dent, but I know I haven't. I've got so much to listen to still. Yes, come on, y'all. Woo! Fan me down. I gotta simmer down. Jesus. Woo! Crazy. All right, y'all. I am so sorry for sleeping in on y'all twice today. One was a nap. One was both were unintentional, but one was a nap. One was not. So I will set an alarm next time. I swear to God. Scout's honor. Scout's honor. Swear to God. All right, guys. I think that's gonna do it. We just gotta close out with 7 and 8. I think I dropped my. I did. This was pre-nap, so I couldn't remember if I actually did it or not. I dropped the lineup, I think, for this week. I did put Red and Chinchilla chalk outlines on there twice. Whoopsies. So I'll probably swap that out with 7 Sins. Why not? It's a good reason to do that. So, all right, guys. I am going to take off. I hope you guys have a great Sunday evening. I will be back at it tomorrow with the reactions, and then we will have our rapid fire night next Saturday. So I hope to see you guys there, and I hope you guys have a great week ahead. Thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out and waiting for me while I woke up. So see you guys tomorrow. Peace out.